Free gas decompression models. No logical explanation for deep stops can be found in the classic decompression theories. Instead, they become completely logical in the light of free gas or bubble models. These new models not only consider dissolved gas, but also the gas that remains in a free phase in the form of microbubbles or gaseous nuclei. The pioneer of these studies was certainly Dr. David Yunt, who in the 1980s proposed his model of varying permeability, VPM, one of the most widely used models in technical diving today. The conclusions of this model oppose those of the classic theories. The ascent must be very slow, particularly when leaving the bottom, and eventual decompression stops must be made deep. It is therefore evident how the recommendations to ascend slowly and make deep stops are justified by this mathematical model. Let's look closer at the basic elements of these new models. As a starting point, they establish that part of the inert gas, about 10%, is not dissolved in the body tissues, but is in a free phase, in the form of bubbles, mainly in the bloodstream. But in order for a bubble of gas to exist in a liquid, its internal pressure must be greater than the ambient pressure. Molecules of liquid are greatly attracted to each other, so much so that on the surface this attractive force, surface tension, causes the molecules to form a membrane strong enough even for small insects to walk on. This surface tension tends to squash the bubble, so in order for a bubble to exist, it must have a pressure greater than the ambient pressure. The difference in bubble and ambient pressure is, according to Laplace's law, directly proportional to the surface tension and inversely proportional to the radius of the bubble, meaning that the smaller the bubble, the greater the pressure difference. However, if there is a pressure difference, the gas inside the bubble dissolves into the liquid. Consequently, the bubble becomes smaller and the difference in pressure rises again, so the gas continues to dissolve into liquid until the bubble disappears. So all bubbles are destined to disappear after a few seconds. However, bubbles are found in fizzy drinks where they stay for a long time. This contradiction led Yunt to study the persistence of bubbles, and he discovered that bubbles resisted for physical and structural reasons. Physically, bubbles tend to reduce the squashing effect of the surface tension by attaching themselves to the walls of a container, glass or blood capillary, whatever, or joining together. Structurally, every bubble is surrounded by a membrane created by surface activity, also known as surfactant. These surfactant molecules, thanks to a reciprocal action of attraction and repulsion, act like an elastic net on the surface of the bubble. The smaller the bubble, the more the net closes and obstructs the passage of gas from the bubble to the liquid, and vice versa. The ease of passage of the gas molecules is defined as the permeability of the bubble. If the size of the bubble increases, the permeability increases and vice versa. The name varying permeability model derives from this fact. On ascent, the bubbles of nitrogen are in a particular situation. They have a greater pressure in respect to the ambient pressure, but the liquid is oversaturated. If the pressure of nitrogen in the bubbles remains greater than the tissue tension of nitrogen, Pt, the gas tends to pass from the bubble to the liquid and decompression is optimal. But if a diver ascends too much, the volume of the bubble increases, according to Boyle's law. The pressure difference with the outside decreases and the pressure of nitrogen inside the bubble falls below that of the tissue tension of nitrogen, Pt. Gas, therefore, passes from the liquid to the bubble, which increases in size, reducing the pressure difference with the outside, and so continues to grow until it becomes a substantially sized bubble and thus a potential cause of embolism. The aim of correct decompression is to find the right equilibrium between all these opposing factors. You must ascend to open the elastic net of the bubble and permit gas to pass, and also to allow the elimination of excess nitrogen. But at the same time, you must not ascend too much so as to keep the bubbles small and prevent the flow of gas between the bubble and the liquid reversing. The aim of deep stops is to give nitrogen in its free phase time to dissolve into the tissues, meaning to pass from a bubble to a liquid. In the VPM model and its derivatives, such as RGBM, it is possible to mathematically calculate the maximum acceptable level of oversaturation instead of using practical experimental tests. However, this results in very long decompression times, and the decompression profiles of the traditional models should cause explosions of bubbles. This is why the new models have been adjusted experimentally, as you can discover by attending the PSS Accelerated Decompression course.